The sun was just beginning to push through the marine layer when Daniel Mercer woke with a start. For a moment, he couldn't name what had shaken him awake. The bedroom was quiet, the ceiling fan hummed its familiar slow orbit, and the house, an old but charming two-story in San Diego's North Park neighborhood, was still. Yet something felt off, as if a small, invisible tremor had passed through the world while he slept. Then it hit him. Emily wasn't in bed. She always rose early, but on Saturdays, she stayed close a little longer. They would lie together, fingers intertwined, watching the filtered light creep up the walls. It had been their ritual for years, an unspoken promise that no matter how chaotic life became, they would start the weekend side by side. But today, her side of the bed was cold. Daniel sat up. The faint smell of her vanilla rose lotion lingered on the sheets, but that was it. The house was silent. No coffee brewing. No shower running. No clatter from the kitchen. He called. No answer. He waited a few seconds, listening. Just the fan. Just the silence. He stood, pulled on a t-shirt, and padded through the house. The kitchen was spotless, as if untouched. Her purse sat on the counter. Keys too. Sneakers by the door. Phone charging next to the toaster. Everything exactly where it should be, except her. Strange. Then he noticed the back door wasn't fully closed. He stepped out onto the patio. The early morning air had that cool ocean crispness that only existed before noon in San Diego, before the sun burned everything dry. Their little yard was filled with succulents, aloe thinning out into a narrow wooden fence that separated their property from the neighbors. And there she was. Emily sat at the far edge of the yard, perched on the low stone wall, half hidden behind their lemon tree. She wore an oversized hoodie and pajama shorts, her bare legs curled to her chest. But it wasn't her posture that tightened something in Daniel's stomach. It was the look on her face. Guilt. Worry. Something raw. She startled when she heard him approach and quickly wiped at her eyes. "Hey," she said. "You're up early." Daniel froze. Her tone was too casual, too bright, forced. A tone people used when they were hiding something. "I woke up and you weren't there," he said slowly. "Everything okay?" She nodded too quickly. "Just couldn't sleep. Needed some fresh air." He stepped closer. "You're crying." Emily shook her head. "It's allergies. It's November." "Yeah, well, San Diego doesn't know what seasons are," she said with a weak laugh. Daniel didn't press further. Not yet. They'd been married 8 years. He knew all her moods, the tremble in her voice when she was lying, the way she'd tug the sleeve of her sweater down over her palm when she didn't want to talk. She was tugging now. They sat in silence for a long moment, the distant hum of I-805 traffic blending with the soft rustling of palm fronds. Daniel reached out and took her hand. She flinched. Just a flicker. Barely noticeable. But he noticed. That tiny recoil, that almost nothing moment, was what lodged itself deep in his mind. Even after she finally returned to bed. Even after they went to brunch later that morning. Even after she laughed at a joke he told, though the laugh felt delayed, borrowed, not quite hers. Something was wrong. He could feel it. And he was right. San Diego had always been Daniel's city. He'd grown up there, surfing in Pacific Beach, attending ballgames at Petco Park, working odd construction jobs through college. It was where he met Emily, at a community event in Balboa Park, both of them volunteering to help rebuild the Botanical Gardens irrigation system. She was new to the city then. Midwest-born. Warm, earnest, quick to smile. There was something steady and gentle about her, like she carried her own quiet light. They married 2 years later on Coronado Beach under a sky streaked with orange and gold. Their life afterward was simple, good, just what they'd wanted. Daniel's contracting business did well. Emily worked as an event planner at a boutique hotel in La Jolla. They lived in a bright neighborhood full of dog walkers, young families, and the faint constant scent of grilled carne asada drifting from nearby Taquerias. Their friends always joked they were the boring happy couple, the dependable ones. But that had been years ago. And lately, little cracks had begun to form. It began with the small things. Emily's schedule changed. She claimed the new hotel manager needed her on more events, more late nights, more weekends. She started wearing makeup to casual staff meetings. New outfits. She began guarding her phone, turning the screen away, angling her body whenever she texted. Daniel noticed. Of course he did. But he didn't say anything at first. He trusted her. He loved her. He told himself he was imagining it. But then came the night that changed everything. A Wednesday. She said she had to stay late for a corporate dinner. She left at 5. He worked late in the garage, fixing a client's cabinet doors. Around 9 p.m., he texted her. Everything going okay? No reply. At 10:15, the text delivered, meaning her phone had been previously off or out of service. Her reply came 2 minutes later. Sorry. Busy. Heading out soon. No photo. No details. Not like she normally texted. Emily returned home at 11:40. Her hair was slightly mussed. She smelled like unfamiliar cologne, expensive, spicy, not her usual floral perfume. Her lipstick was faded but freshly applied, messy around the edge of her lower lip. Not in a way that looked like time passing, but like someone had wiped it. Daniel's heart pounded, his mind spinning with the thought that he didn't want to think. She kissed him lightly, quickly. He asked how the dinner went. She gave him a vague rundown, too vague, of speakers, schedules, budgets. She tripped over one detail, the restaurant name. Said it was Blue Harbor. There was no Blue Harbor in San Diego. He checked. She had lied. But still he said nothing. Not yet. A week later, she left her laptop open in the living room when she went to shower. Not like her, she kept her work and personal stuff tidy to the point of obsessiveness. Daniel knew he shouldn't touch it. But he also knew marriages weren't supposed to have shadows this dark. When he lifted the laptop, the trackpad brushed his thumb, and the screen lit up. Her email was open. His stomach tightened. He didn't scroll. He didn't need to. Because right there, in the preview pane of an unread message, was a photo. Emily. Sitting at a dimly lit restaurant. Leaning close to a man Daniel didn't recognize. Laughing. Her hand on his wrist. The subject line read, "Last night was unforgettable." The sender's name. Nathan Cole. Daniel felt the world tilt. He closed the laptop without opening the message, but the damage was already done. The image was burned into his mind, the words etched into him like a brand. He stood there for a long time, breathing slow, heavy. Everything inside him fought to reject what he'd seen. To rationalize. To explain it away. But he couldn't. He waited for her to come out of the shower, dripping in steam, humming lightly as she dried her hair. He watched her. Watched the ease in her movements. The innocence in her expression. And for the first time in 8 years of marriage, Daniel felt something new toward his wife. Suspicion. Cold. Sharp. Unforgiving. Over the next 2 weeks, Daniel watched closely. He wasn't proud of it. But when trust cracks, paranoia seeps into everything. He noticed Emily's smiles were shorter. She checked her phone constantly. She stepped outside to take calls. She changed her passwords, every one of them. Claimed it was for work security. But Daniel knew better. He started keeping track of her events. He compared them with the hotel's public calendar. Half of the nights she claimed to be working, there were no events scheduled. When he confronted her gently, casually, "Thought you said tonight was a wedding event?" She would stumble, change the subject, then get annoyed he was checking on her. She grew defensive. Distant. Almost irritated with his presence. And Daniel felt something breaking in him. The love was still there. But now it was tangled in fear, doubt, quiet rage. He still didn't confront her directly. Why? Because part of him still hoped he was wrong. Part of him feared the truth more than the lie. It happened on a warm Friday night in Hillcrest, one of the liveliest neighborhoods in the city. Emily said she had a late client dinner. Daniel didn't argue. Didn't show suspicion. Didn't even ask where. Instead, he grabbed his jacket and followed her car at a distance. She drove west, weaving through the tight, neon-lit streets, finally parking behind a wine bar called Meridian and Vine. Daniel parked a block away. He waited. 5 minutes later, he saw her. Emily stepped out of her car, looking around nervously. Then a man approached her. Tall. Tan. Stylish. Confident. Nathan. Daniel watched Emily's face transform, not the guarded, distant expression she'd worn at home, but something soft, warm, alive. She walked into his arms. He held her. And then they kissed. A kiss that belonged to someone in love. A kiss that belonged to someone who wasn't him. Daniel's chest caved inward. The world lost sound. Even the music spilling onto the street from nearby bars faded into nothing. He felt like he'd swallowed a stone. He followed them inside. Sat at the bar, hidden behind a pillar. He watched them laugh, whisper, touch. Their knees brushed under the table. Her fingers traced the rim of his glass. She looked at Nathan the way she used to look at him. Then Nathan leaned in and kissed her again. Daniel's hand tightened around his drink. He didn't remember paying the bill. He didn't remember walking to his truck. All he knew was by the time he reached it, he was shaking. Not with sorrow. Not with heartbreak. With something deeper. Something darker. Emily didn't come home that night. She whispered some excuse by text, staying late. You don't need to wait up. Daniel waited anyway. At 2:48 a.m., she finally walked in, trying to slip quietly through the living room. He was sitting on the couch. The lamp already on. She froze. Their eyes met. Everything stopped. Where were you? Daniel asked softly. Emily swallowed. I told you. Work. No, his voice was calm, eerily calm. Try again. She blinked fast, panicked. Daniel, please, I'm exhausted. Can we talk in the morning? Who is Nathan? Her entire body went rigid. He saw the answer in her eyes before she said anything. How do you? I saw you, Daniel said. Tonight. At the bar. She stumbled back a step, her face draining of color. No, her voice cracked. Daniel, please. Don't lie to me again. Silence. Emily's chest rose and fell, her breath trembling. I'm sorry, she whispered. It was the worst thing she could have said. Because now it was real. Now it was undeniable. He stood slowly, staring at the woman he loved more than anything in the world and feeling something break so violently inside him that he wondered if he'd ever recover. How long? He asked. A few months, she said, barely audible. He clenched his jaw. Do you love him? Her silence was louder than any answer. He closed his eyes. That was it. Everything. Gone. Emily cried. Apologized. Reached for him. Tried to explain. Words poured from her in frantic desperation, about loneliness, stress, their drifting apart, how it just happened, how she never meant to hurt him. But Daniel felt numb. Like his heart had shut off to protect him from drowning. He listened but didn't hear. When she finally stopped talking, he said, "You need to leave tonight." She stared at him, stunned. "Daniel, no. We can talk to someone, we can fix this. There is no we anymore." He opened the door. And she walked through it. The last image he saw of her was her silhouette under the street lamp, shaking in the cold November air. Daniel wasn't someone who sought revenge. But betrayal rewrites a man. Over the next week, as Emily stayed with her sister, he gathered everything he needed: messages from her laptop, phone records, photos from the night in Hillcrest. He contacted a lawyer. He froze their joint accounts. He transferred the house title, something they had agreed verbally would always be his, since he'd bought it years before they married. Then he wrote Emily one final message. "We'll handle everything through lawyers. Don't come back. I'll send your belongings." He sent her suitcase. He didn't send her wedding ring. He threw it off the pier at Ocean Beach, watching it disappear beneath the waves. Only then did he feel the first breath of relief. Bittersweet. But real. Months passed. Slowly, painfully, Daniel rebuilt his life. His friends rallied around him. His mother visited often. Work picked up. He surfed more. He took evening walks through the city, Little Italy, Mission Bay, Balboa Park, rediscovering the beauty of the place he'd once only shared with her. Emily reached out once. A long message full of regrets, apologies, and pleas for a second chance. He didn't reply. He didn't need to. He had found peace in the sunshine again. Painful. But clean. The divorce finalized in spring. Daniel kept the house. His business grew. Emily moved to Arizona with her sister and, as far as Daniel heard, things with Nathan didn't last. But by then, none of it mattered. The betrayal had broken him. But the healing had rebuilt him stronger. San Diego's winds carried away the last remnants of his old life, leaving him standing on the cliffs of Sunset Cliffs one evening, watching the horizon glow orange and gold, like it had the day they married. He breathed deep. He didn't feel sorrow anymore. Just clarity. Just freedom. Just the promise of a new beginning.